Imagine, it's the 1st century. The Son of God is reincarnated in the body of a human. Then he dies. It's okay, he comes back later. 300 years pass. Pagans are doing their thing, celebrating the winter solstice. The church? Not a fan. The celebrations? Fun, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't quite enough Jesus for them. Now, they don't know for sure when Jesus was born, but it definitely was in December. We are now celebrating Jesus' birthday in December. An innkeeper chops up a couple of kids and hides them in a pickle barrel. A passing saint resurrects them. He's Santa now. They pick up a tree here, a materialism there, and a eroding of the Catholic Church's cultural power. And now we have a holiday that wasn't a Christian holiday, that Christians made into a Christian holiday, but they later decided was too pagan to be a Christian holiday, and then trying to reclaim into a Christian holiday again. So that's why when a piece of media has a Christmas episode, there must canonically be an equivalent of Jesus Christ and a Catholic Church in that universe. Which, you know, lore-wise can make things a little bit weird. But like, Christmas is fun, and apart from a few sects of Christianity, ironically, and you know, the other many religions, most people in the Western world celebrate one way or the other, and some parts of the Eastern world too. So if you're writing a comic or making a TV show, having holiday specials are a fun way to connect with the viewers engaging with your art at that point in time, or to show a passage of your timeless story in an interesting way. The thing is, there are a lot of stories that don't take place in our world, so you can kind of go about this in 3 ways. 1, winter vibes only. We never say Christmas. We don't have any scenes of overt Christmas symbols. We just set the episode in winter and maybe have the episode have some underlying message of generosity or family. Now, non-diegetically, we know as the viewer that this is supposed to be a Christmas episode, but since it's never stated diegetically in the episode, it is not actually confirmed Christmas in the canon. 2, they just don't acknowledge it. We show the symbols of Christmas, everyone behaves like it's Christmas time, maybe they even say Christmas, but they don't in any way try to explain why Christmas exists in this world. They're just like, look, does it make the canon weird? Yeah, but we want a Christmas episode, and we don't want to have to come up with a version of Jesus in the Catholic Church in our universe, which, fair, it's not always that deep, but it is funny when it happens. And 3, and this is what I want to keep a focus on for this video, they will keep all the symbols of Christmas in the episode, from the decorations, to the traditions, to everything basically, it's Christmas, but they'll create their own lore to explain how Christmas came to be in their world, and how it just coincidentally happens to look exactly like Christmas in our world, which, in my opinion, is by far the funniest way you could approach this subject. So I thought, in the spirit of Christmas, it could be fun to explore these 3 versions of stories that have their own versions of trademark not Christmas. In Undertale, you, playing as Frisk, or more accurately, playing as yourself using Frisk as your vessel, travel from town to town in the monster populated underground to hopefully escape from the cavern you've fallen into. The first real town you encounter is the eternally winter town of Snowdin, and Snowdin is just dripping with Christmas imagery. There's snow in the air, there's wreaths on the buildings, monsters are wearing cozy scarves and sweaters, there's even a giant pine tree in the center of town that the monsters are exchanging presents under. It's Christmas, right? Wrong. Talk with this bear and he'll tell you some punk teens decided to prank a monster by decorating its antlers with various objects. The other monsters, feeling bad for it, decided to give it gifts to cheer it up. It ended up becoming a tradition, and now they place presents under a decorated tree to celebrate it. You can actually encounter this monster, Gift Trot, by itself by a mysterious cave. You can give gifts or undecorate its body if you want, and it will gain its trust and you can spare it instead of killing it. As cute as it is, it does raise 2 questions. 1, did this just happen in recent history and they just came up with this idea to cheer it up? Or has this been going on for a while and they never once thought to try to you know, remove the crap that people put on it? Because if that's the case, I can understand why they wouldn't want to leave it underground with the rest of the monsters. My guy has no hands. Help him out. Beastars is a manga series by Pirate Dagaki that later got a very popular Netflix adaptation, which is probably how you heard of it if you're in the West. It follows a cast of anthropomorphic animal characters as they learn to grow up and navigate in a society that treats prey animals as food and carnivores as monsters. Beastars is a funny situation because it actually has pretty solid world building, which is strange because that's not usually the case for stories that are the genre of they're animals, but they're still basically people, which I think just kind of adds to its charm and weirdness. Now, I don't fully know how Christmas is celebrated and interpreted in Japan, apart from KFC, of course, but because Japan isn't a predominantly Christian nation, whatever version of Christmas they have must have gone through like their own cultural filter. But it's a pretty popular holiday there, and Parutagaki decided to include in beastars. This always stood out to me because the other holidays in beastars feel like very of their world. I know objectively that they have like shrines and festivals and talismans and cleansings and all that stuff in Japan, but as an American, I have never been around that, so when those things do pop up in beastars, I don't feel like pulled out of the world because it feels very like non-familiar to me. When Christmas, or as they call it Rexmas, popped up, that did kind of throw me for a loop. It's not a bad thing, but I do find her interpretation of it into her own book's lore interesting. So in the beastars world, they honor the spirit of the now extinct dinosaurs as their ancestors. They have the meteor festival early in the series, which is them remembering the giant meteor that was thought to have wiped out the dinosaurs a millennia ago. But if the dinosaurs in this universe are their ancestors and they all went extinct, how are they alive? Well, one dinosaur, a Tyrannosaurus rex, came back to life and grew a pair of wings, which caused it to turn into a bird, and that ensured the survival of its species. Rexmas is the birthday of this dinosaur, which families get together and celebrate to thank it for resurrecting and giving life to the rest of them. Does this sound kind of familiar to you? The idea of a Western piece of media making direct parallel to Jesus, and specifically making a flying dinosaur, feels so unbelievable. But like Christianity, especially Catholicism, is kind of seen as a vibey, cool foreign thing in Japan, and it pops up in Japanese media a lot. So the fact that this exists in the way it does makes sense when you consider the cultural context of part of being Japanese. But as an American, I do find it really strange and kind of hilarious. My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic is a show created by Lauren Foss that follows 6 pony friends as they navigate through their interpersonal relationships and go on adventures in the magical land of Equestria. I specifically want to focus on the episode Hearths Warming. I think this is a really interesting example of this phenomenon because not only does this episode unapologetically have oodles of Christmas symbology, it is completely centered around why explaining the in-universe explanation of why Christmas, or Hearths Warming, exists in that canon. In that universe, Earth ponies grow food, Pegasi control the weather, and unicorns make the day-night cycle. Back before Celestia and Equestria and all that, the 3 groups had an uneasy alliance. The Earth ponies would provide the other 2 races with a portion of the food they grew, and they, in exchange, would continue to keep the weather and the day cycle operating like it needed to. One day, a huge snowstorm hits the lands and wipes out the Earth ponies' fields. So now, nobody's eating. They try to create an alliance to figure it out, but they just can't get past their own prejudices. So they instead decide to try finding a new land. They all find a place to live, a place that would end up becoming Equestria, and they fight over the resources. The storm comes back, and they realize that they're being haunted by Wendigos. Spirits that gain power from disharmony. So they put their differences behind them, and they come together to dispel the spirits, creating the harmonious country of Equestria. They celebrate this founding every year with a holiday called Hearths Warming. Now, I think this is a great example of this sort of Christmas take because it incorporates the pre-existing lore and themes of the show without trying to basically retell our world's Christmas narrative. They also set the story back so far in the past that's not unbelievable that as the centuries went by, they adopted certain symbols or made certain things up, just like we did, and it just happens to have a lot of symbology that correlates with our version of Christmas. And you're probably thinking like, yeah, but wouldn't it be more accurate if they adopted different symbols that relate more to their own story? Like, maybe since one of the main figures of the story was named Puddinghead, the Earth ponies have like a tradition of making Christmas pudding or something like that. And I see where you're coming from, and I don't think that that's a bad way to write your story. But at a certain point, you'll end up kind of losing that like Christmas feel, and it'll end up being more like the second example I mentioned earlier. A winter episode with themes that kind of relate to Christmas, but it's its own thing, which again is fine. But I do think it's fun when a story really wants that like Christmas feel, that classic Christmas episode, all the symbols and the tradition and the trees and the presents and the Santa and the gingerbread and the whatever, but they still care enough about the lore to try to retroactively write in a way where that makes sense for that universe to varying levels of success, in my opinion. I'm sure there are other examples out there. These are just some of the ones that I was already familiar with. And I'd be down to make a part 2 and explore more of these not Christmases next holiday season if y'all like to see that. Definitely feel free to leave a comment if you can think of a show or book or whatever that you think would qualify as like not Christmas that you think would be fun to see covered. I have a companion video where I talk about Hermie the Elf from the Rudolph movies. Just some interesting lore and theories around him that I might actually make into like a full theory video this next December. So if you want to comment and weigh your thoughts on that, that'd probably be a good video to check out. That's available over my Ko-Fi at any tier or any one-off donation. And I know it's not Christmas yet, but I did want to open my gift early. All right, so let's see what you got me. You didn't have to do that. A subscription to my channel, Secret Eldritch Horror? Well, that's the best thing I could ask for this holiday season. So thank you. But for real, I do make various videos on media where I analyze them and I interpret them in interesting ways. And I have a couple of series going on at the moment over on my channel. I normally make longer videos than this. I'm just kind of busy for the holidays. And I'm also working on said series because I want to have them out early next year. So I definitely recommend you check out my channel, get caught up in all the coolness, so you can be ready when those other parts of those videos drop. And I just want to close off with a very Merry Christmas if you do celebrate, and a very Happy Holidays if you don't. I'm excited to put up more videos next year, and you are more than welcome to follow me over on Tumblr if you want to stay engaged and updated between uploads. Thank you so much for watching. You guys are awesome. And remember,